Let's go. Everyone, and welcome to the PHILLIP Show. Grab your coffee if you haven't already. Oh my goodness. So, you know, I was having a conversation with somebody. I do some coaching calls sometimes. I do some coaching calls sometimes, and I had a conversation with somebody about, you know, paths in life and journey and where we find our passions and how do we put all of these things together. And it was really cool because it's so interesting how people start to gravitate towards what they love and what they want to do at such an early age. And today, we're super excited because Savannah Brantley is going to be here in 2 seconds. You hear the birds chirping in the background, and I'm so excited that she's already here. And we're going to talk about writing, following our passions. How do we do that? What do we pursue? And what does that mean for us? So, Savannah, hi.
Hi, Phillip. Hi.
Hey, how are you? The birds sound wonderful back there. They're singing some sort of song.
Oh, yeah, they're lovely. They're lovely. It's different every day. But it's sweet here. I'm doing good. How are you doing?
I'm doing pretty well. I got my coffee. Clearly it's sunny outside.
Yeah.
And, you know, like I said, when I opened up the show, there's so many things that people can do, so many interests that people have. And you are a writer.
Yeah. Yeah. So I started writing really, really young. Never really thought it was going to be a serious thing for me. And then I ended up going to performing arts school for high school. And that really changed my trajectory in a lot of ways, especially during my junior year. And since then, I've been writing really seriously, you know, sending my things off to publishers and just talking to people about what a writing career is like. So let's back up just a little bit. So how did you decide to go to a performing arts school? Because that's not something that either everybody has access to or it's something that's either in their area. So first of all, where are you from? And why did you decide on the school that you went to? And feel free to give them a shout out. I'm sure they're super proud of you. Oh, yeah. So, so I grew up in Fairborn. And I went to the standard Fairborn Elementary School when I was younger, went to middle school, well, at least 6th grade. And during that year in 2015, there was some turmoil within my family, and I actually had to move in with my aunt. Shout out to Casey. And so, you know, in that whole course of things, my mom actually passed away. And right before she passed away, I got my acceptance letter from Stivers, which is the performing arts school that I went to, and Stivers School for the Arts there in Dayton. And I initially wasn't going to go. I kind of, you know, with my mom passing and everything, felt like it just wasn't the right time. But my aunt really pushed me, and she, you know, really wanted me to go. It was in a way sort of like what my mom wanted before she passed away. It was really for me to go there because I had a cousin who also went there, so she kind of felt like I would flourish a little bit more there rather than at the Fairborn's like standard public schooling.
Sure.
And and it was a 20-minute drive, and my aunt and uncle, you know, they did it every day. Took me even during the summers when I was part of a poetry intensive program. That was in 2016. But yeah, they just were really dedicated and got me there every day up until I graduated. So, it was I think, a really influential place for me to be. I met a lot of awesome people there. I had a lot of, you know, people who kind of took me under their wing with everything that was going on at home. And just showed me like how art could be more than just an outlet, be more than just a hobby. So Yeah.
Now, when you went to Stivers, I'm so sorry to hear about your mom. I'm so encouraged to hear about how supportive, your aunt and your family was to get you to where they knew you needed to be at Stivers and incorporated in art. When you went to Stivers, did you know that you wanted to be a writer? Where did that come from? Because I think at a performing arts school, let the people know if you can, but there's a lot of different things that you can do at a performing arts school. And how did you kind of hone in on what was for you?
Right. So there are a lot of different options, and the way that it worked was just like you went in, you auditioned, and from there kind of decided what magnet you were going to have, depending on where you got in, because you could also apply for or audition for multiple magnets, and I auditioned for visual arts and creative writing, and I got in for both. And there was of course other magnets. There's things like dance and theater and band that were all very much more performance based. But I just was always geared more towards like the quiet types of art that you did on your own and you showed people later on. But writing, like I really didn't take it seriously. But I was told by many people, I was doing it as a hobby, and I was told by many people within the writing department that like they were just impressed with my work, considering how young I was. And looking back on it, like the work itself makes me cringe because it's very, naive almost. It's just a little, it's floral. I was very much, I considered myself a poet at the time. And I just was also having a hard time kind of putting into perspective what I wanted to write about and how, that translated to readers. I just wasn't very mindful of that. And then the summer after my sophomore year, I started reading a few more, books that had been recommended to me by my teachers in the writing department. And, all summer long at least during my summers, I would, experiment with visual arts and how, go out to the backyard and sit with my, what are they called now? Easel. Oh my goodness. my easel.
Those things.
Yeah. So I would go out on the back porch with my easel, but the summer after my sophomore year, I decided I wanted to change up the scene, and I started reading much more. And I read Writing Down the Bones and The Writing Life by Ann Dillard. Books that were, geared towards writers and geared towards like, not convincing people, but kind of showing people the beauty of being a writer. And it really changed my opinion of what writing could be and what kind of capacity it had. And so junior year, I kind of came into school with a much different mindset around writing. Obviously I was still very dead set on visual arts and felt like that was going to be what I would stick with, just because it had been such a long standing thing in my life. Like a lot of people within my family kind of were convinced that I would go into design or something along those lines.
Sure.
But it started to kind of like fade away from me in terms of like as a career. I started lacking ambition when it came to visual arts, and used it more as like an emotional outlet for the things that were happening in my life. And writing became more of like a, what's the word? I don't want to say professional, but it just became more serious for me. I was much more involved with like the plays that were being put on, and spoken word shows that we had. And even in my senior year, I was very dead set that like I wanted to be a serious part of the department, and I was helping with things like our senior book, and was just very vocal in class about my opinions around writing, and was very eager to share my writing and get better. I was writing constantly. I don't have that kind of time now, but my love for writing has only deepened, and
I know you had mentioned that at first when you started, when you look back, some of it was like cringy because you're like, I was writing. You're different people as you grow and as you mature and as situations change. You go from season to season in your life, and I'm sure you can see the seasons in your writing.
Right.
You with everything that had happened to you prior to going to high school and throughout, a lot of times when people develop passions for things that you can put into words and express, even if it's art. Some of those memories or how you process kind of gets onto the pages or gets onto the canvas. As a writer, do you use some of your personal journey and kind of apply that or express that through your words?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Especially, you know, within the past 2 years, it's become more of the case. When I was younger, I definitely was using my life as a lot of the inspiration for my pieces. But again, because I wasn't taking it so seriously, it just came off as very like, you know, it just was an emotional outlet more than it was anything that was serious or meant to be read by people.
Yeah.
And after I ended up going to Ohio Wesleyan University and, you know, decided very, you know, right off the bat that my magnet was going to be creative writing, and took a plethora of writing classes. And within the last year, I've been taking a few more experimental courses, things that I'm not used to. You know, I was very dead set that I was a poet up until a year ago, when I took a class in fiction and workshops, a workshop in nonfiction and a workshop in fiction. And the two of them combined, you know, I had the same professor for them as well. The two of them combined were just very enlightening for me on how I wanted to translate my, you know, my life on the page to readers. I was reading a lot of people like C.J. Hauser and Melissa Febos, and I'm just recently starting to read a lot of Mary Karr, who, you know, are very adamant writers about, you know, how to use trauma and use like the process of recovering from, you know, a very troubled background in life through your writing, and how that can be not only transformational for the writer, but can be very important for your readers who might see themselves in you. Melissa Febos talks a lot in her book Body Work, talks a lot about, you know, how when she started writing, she was imagining kind of like herself, you know, writing to a younger version of herself and writing her memoirs, and kind of like how that helped her form and shape her identity as, you know, as trauma survivors kind of struggle with, you know, as she was recovering and writing her memoirs. So yeah, I do use a lot of my background, the turmoil within my life to kind of push my writing. And that's only deepened within the past 2 years. And especially now that I kind of consider myself more of an essayist rather than a poet.
Tell us what the difference is. What's the difference between an essayist and a poet, I guess, and just a writer? Why essayist? Right. Why are you that?
So obviously poet, they tend to lean more towards like, you know, poetry. They write a lot more free verse or, you know, whatever kind of forms that they gravitate towards. But when it comes to essayists, which is, I don't know how much room I have to speak on this topic because I'm still new to the writing world, but like based off, you know, what I've read and the people I've talked to, like the category of essayist really isn't as fully formed as a lot of the other writing, I guess, categories that people put themselves in. And it has, you know, kind of a bad rep, honestly. Like it's kind of been, you know, globbed up with this idea that like people are just writing about themselves and doing it out of this selfishness that they really only want to talk about their own stories. But I kind of see it as bigger than that. I see it as, you know, less about, you know, just talking about yourself and more about, you know, sharing experiences with people. It's something that humans are so well equipped to do is tell stories. And so I kind of feel like essayist just, you know, feels right for me. Because that's a lot of what I want to do is I want to tell, you know, I want to share experiences. I want to tell stories. And they're definitely, you know, in terms of form, technically speaking, they're longer. And something I've really loved doing is experimenting with essay forms. So experimenting with like stream of consciousness, which is just where you kind of let yourself go on the page and write however you feel, regardless of grammar or punctuation. And then you come back and go through the whole revision process and fix it up, you know, pretty it up for the audience. But but yeah, I appreciate that form more. I feel like it's a little more flexible for me. You have more room to tell a story, whereas like poetry is very tight knit. It's very, I used to take for granted how intense poetry could be. And now I'm realizing like, I just feel with essay, I have a little more control and room to move around.
That's really interesting how you kind of continue to merge and morph and become, if you will, and grow and learn and discover.
Yeah.
Okay, so you went to Ohio Wesleyan for a little bit, didn't you say that? So now, where are you?
So I'm still a student there. I'm still currently a student there. I'm a junior now, so I'm almost done. Halfway there.
Okay.
But I'm still continuing with my major in creative writing. But something very exciting happening right now for me is that I was accepted into the New York Arts Program, which is a program through OWU that they made a number of years ago. I can't recall the exact year, but they made at OWU. And basically what it does is it helps students from colleges go to New York and pursue an artistic ambition of theirs. And so, I went through the whole process of sending in an application and pieces and, talking to people, just trying to see where I would fit in the program. I got in under the category of film and media, which is just kind of like a broader term for people, who want to go in for film or want to go in for writing or like screenplay writing, things of that nature. And it's, you take one seminar in the week and then you kind of, it's 15-week long program and you take
15 weeks?
Yep. 15 weeks. And, you go, every week you go to one seminar class, which is just kind of where you go in and you learn about different things within film and media, talk to, who your advisor is about your experience. And then the rest of the week you're working in 2 different internships. And those internships are based around what you're there in New York for. And so next semester I'll be working, at this place called Torn Page, which is a, event space in Chelsea, and they host a lot of really interesting events, a lot of events geared towards, the art world. So they do a lot of spoken word, they do a lot of plays, which I thought was really interesting considering the space is kind of small. It's just a house that's been, inherited by this couple who take out the second floor to do these events.
Wow.
So that'd be, that's one internship I've got down. I'm still doing interviews for my second internship, but I'm hoping that maybe I'll be able to get something with a writer and do some sort of writer's assistant type work where I would do, research for them and help them kind of organize their thoughts around their piece or their work. So I'm really excited for that.
Wow, that's awesome.
Yeah. I think it's going to give me a really great opportunity to kind of see where I want to fit in the writing world.
Yeah.
Kind of how it is right now. A lot of my understanding of it is kind of dated, and I just don't have the kind of things that I would get in New York here because I'm in rural areas most of the time. So
sure.
But yeah. So I'm really excited for it. It's going to give me an opportunity to network with people as well, and like maybe find mentors who can help me through my writing process. So.
I think that's excellent. Having that kind of exposure to more avenues, I guess, in that arena is so wonderful because you'll be able to kind of see, evaluate, take it all in, and again, while you're looking and you're observing, you'll be able to find yourself in those like, hey, that really feels like my lane, or hey, I totally know I don't want to do that.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah. So I know here where we are, you have a show that is coming up, which we're super excited about. You're going to be sharing some of your work. Is this for the first time in this area? Am I correct?
Yes. For the first time in this area. I haven't done anything necessarily like this before. It's definitely a new experience for me. I have done, performances where I've agreed to, go up and read off a piece for an event at school, or maybe, in high school, I did a lot of them where I would get up and be part of like a bigger play or, collection of spoken word pieces. So performing isn't necessarily new to me, but the idea of performing are, with the performance centralized around me is definitely new.
Yeah.
I will say that I'm quite nervous about it, but
Yeah.
I'm excited at the same time. It's given me an opportunity to kind of look at my work and see how, because I think a lot of the time something I lack is this ability to perceive how an audience will take my work and how, they might digest it. And that's a very important part to writing, and it's something I think about, but it's never been what's the word, kind of like materialized in this way, where like, I can give someone my piece and go away and I don't have to see their faces when I read it. But in terms of, I have to perform these very intimate pieces with people, and kind of just be okay with how they're reacting, or I get to gauge in real time how they're reacting to it.
Yeah. I
But
would
yeah.
imagine since you write a lot from experience as well, kind of mixed in with your writings, I would imagine too that saying the things out loud, they not only get to see the reaction, but all of a sudden they're knowledgeable about what you're writing. Right. They know a little bit more about you. As you move forward towards the date of this event, how are you either narrowing down or how are you creating the pieces for this particular event?
Right. So that's a good question. A lot of what I've been doing recently is going through pieces that I really enjoy, pieces that I know are reliable. And I'm also experimenting with some other stuff. So I've had a lot of ideas and really no reason beyond, that I want to write to sit down and write them. And this has really pushed me to do that. It's pushed me to put aside, an hour or two during the week to just dedicate to that and making sure that all the pieces I feel are appropriate for this and ready for this. It's taking a lot of revising. It's taking a lot of self-reflection, but I'm, that's part of the nature of the work. And I love doing that stuff. So it's not a problem for me. It just means that I have to, reflect very seriously about what I'm providing to these people and how I'm showing up. Because, this is also just reflective of generally what I want to be in the future. And I, want that to be something that feels right to me and, reflects me in the right way. So.
I love how you said reflects you in the right way. As I guess as a listener and as an attendee coming up, or it's anybody who reads your pieces, who do you want people to know that you are after reading your work?
I think what I really just want in the end is I want people to see me as like, and this is something I already view myself as being a very strong person, in terms of just, I've been through a lot, and I've gone through a lot. I've been dragged through the mud, and in terms of, where I could have landed and where I've seen other, family members and peers land, I feel like I'm doing all right. And I just want to provide the sense of like, it's, we live through things, humans live through things, and we can still flourish. We can still be the best possible, version of ourselves without, our trauma, our muck kind of coming in with us and painting everything in a different light, when at the end of the day, things happen and we can live through them and be strong people. So I just that's my hope. I hope people can see that in me. I hope they can see that, my optimism, my kind of my persistence.
Speaking of how people get through things, and you in particular, listening to kind of like the outliers, like, if you will, of what, the brief sketch of how you're kind of painting that tapestry behind us, and we're kind of like following along, how outside of writing, expressing yourself through writing, and again, referencing people get through things, what would you say you would attribute your reasons for getting through things to? How did you do that?
Well, I mean, a couple of different things. It's changed. It's evolved through my life. When I was younger, I really just, it was for my brother. I had a brother who was 3 years younger than me. And, there was just a lot going on in our household that made it to where like it was difficult for him to be taken care of by our parents. And so I was, I stepped up in a lot of ways for him. And, in the beginning, that's kind of what it was about, was it was living for him and pushing through for him and trying to make him happy in times that like, it just wasn't really easy to do that. And then as I kind of got older, it was more about, it's always been about kind of, I hate to say this, but a little about other people and the people that I love and taking care of them and showing them, it's okay. And, in high school, that started to evolve a little bit more. And I, my optimism kind of went away for a second, but I found it after I went back to college, and I found some distance between me and like the environment that I'd grown up in. And now it's more about myself and living for, that younger version of me who really didn't have, the things that she wanted or the, the people that she wanted or needed. And so now it's definitely transformed or evolved into being more about, what can I do to make myself feel, comfortable in my life and feel, more like myself. It's definitely been a huge comfort for me in writing to, in terms of my identity and like trying to find, figure out who I am. A lot of people, and I will say I will use the word trauma survivors find difficulty with, their identity and pinpointing exactly where it is that they feel they are themselves. And it's not just a product of, the traumatic events they've been through. And, so that's what writing has really become for me. It's really what, pushing forward has become for me, is like finding this version of myself that I really enjoy and can live with and, be content with. So, yeah.
Yeah. Well, I like this version of you.
Thank you. Me too. I think she's doing good.
Yeah, she's doing great. As you continue to discover and as you continue to go through school and you're going to New York, and you're going to have so many different opportunities and experiences, but where you know you are now, if you were to say right now and looking into the future, what do you want to see for you?
I just hope my optimism never goes away. That's something I've clung to all throughout life, is my optimism. I hope that never goes away. I just want to see her doing things she loves. I don't ever want to back myself into this corner of feeling like I have, I've built this life for myself and now I must live it. I want to feel that I still have the freedom to write about what I want and do what I want. In terms, not in terms of like go wild, but in terms of just like have the ability to move around in the ways that I like.
Like, hold on, slow it down.
So yeah, that's what I envisioned for myself. And if we're speaking literally, then maybe like, I don't know, a cabin somewhere.
Oh, a cabin.
Kind of like, I can kind of run away when I feel the need to, just dig myself out of the holes that I've, been put in throughout life. So.
Yeah. Well, listen, it sounds like you're digging right now, like you're doing a really good job. And I'm so excited about the opportunities that you have coming up. Number one, to go to New York, but also to have this show coming up at Emporium Wines and Underdog Cafe here in Yellow Springs, just to share your work and to have that experience of doing it in that particular place. It's just so awesome. And even in the short time, watching you grow and learning all of this about, people are so dynamic. And, at surface or face value, we never know what's behind the curtain. We never know the passions that people have. We never know why they are pursuing what they're pursuing and how good they are at certain things, So it's so impressive, to hear you and to listen to your journey and to see you doing all of these things. And I'm so proud of you. Good for you.
Thank you, Phillip. That means a lot. But yeah, I am really excited for the show. I'm really excited to, talk to people about it and see what their views are on it, their reactions. I think it's going to be good. Yellow Springs is a really awesome community. I love the Emporium. So
yeah, and and the good thing about Yellow Springs, they love giving feedback.
That's true. Yeah, they do. They're very good at that. So
we're not short on feedback here in the YS. So, but I'm sure everybody is going to be super supportive, and your work is really brilliant. So I'm excited to watch them, just applaud and be so just in awe of what you can do and have done and will continue to do.
Yeah, me too.
Yes. So okay. So couple quick questions. Dogs or cats?
Dogs.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
You answered one of them. I was going to say a cabin in the woods or a condo in the city.
Oh, cabin in the woods. Cities are noisy.
Cities are noisy. Okay. Let's see. Flip flops or gym shoes?
Gym shoes.
Body spray or perfume?
Oh, body spray.
And here is the question, and I want everybody at home to get very serious, because we ask deep questions here on the PHILLIP Show. Does pineapple go on pizza?
Your
life hangs in the balance.
My life, yeah, this is an intense question. You know what? I think it does. I don't want to say no. I don't like it. I don't prefer it, but I can't rain down on anybody's parade if they want to put pineapple on a pizza. I worked at a pizza place, so this is one of those things that I had to deal with all day.
So what I'm hearing you say is pineapple does go on pizza, just not your pizza.
Yeah, precisely.
That's so funny. Savannah, thank you so much for being here. And I look forward to seeing everything that you're going to be doing. You're just so breathtaking.
Thank you. I appreciate you, Phillip.
Absolutely. Thank you. So that is Savannah. And if you're in the Yellow Springs area on July the 23rd, she's going to be at Emporium Wines and Underdog Cafe for the debut of her newest pieces, her newest written pieces. She's going to be speaking them, and you'll be able to meet and greet Savannah. So if you took nothing else from this, you can continue past whatever challenges that you may have had in the past. And there is still a lot to do. Keep your options open. As Savannah said, be optimistic. Keep your optimism. Each one of you has something great to offer. Find it, what it is. Keep going and just continue to be great. And remember that you are the best you in the world. For anything else about The PHILLIP Show, please visit phillipo'rourke.com. Don't wait.